In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine.
$7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico. Everybody comes in, your grandmother, your father, your mother, your brother, your cousins. They come in so easily, so crazy, so crazy. Everybody comes in, your grandmother, everybody comes in, your grandmother, everybody comes in, your, everybody comes in, your, everybody comes in, you comes in, he comes in, you comes in, you comes in, you comes in your grandmother, he comes in your grandmother, he comes in your grandmother, everybody comes in your grandmother.
I liked beer. I still like beer. But I did not drink beer to the point of blacking out.
That will enhance our underlying effort to accommodate the Russian oligarchs and make sure we take their ill-begotten gains. We're going to accommodate them. We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy. The guys who are the kleptocracy. But these are bad guys.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee. There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. Shame on you. Fool me, we can't get fooled again. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
No, seriously, hot sauce. I've been eating a lot of hot sauce, a lot of raw peppers and hot sauce.
I eat extra sharp.
Force the vote, sure, was a failure.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
What rules, you sons of bitches?
But it's a class action lawsuit against all machines.
Hello, users, and welcome to another episodic installation of the gosh darn, god dang, son of a bitchin' motherfuck show. So this is the show. This is the Above It All show. I'm doing a show. Today is the day that I'm doing a show. I do a show every day, typically. And I'm doing a show today. So today is, I don't know what day it is. It might be Tuesday. I'm not sure. It could be. I don't know. October! It's October! October! Ah! That's the day. It is October of the 25th installment in October right now. So anyway, got a show. We got a program. And so let's jump right in. Let's jump right the fuck in. All right, check this out. On this show, on the Above It All program, which is what you're currently watching and or a clip from the Above It All program, reminder to subscribe, we talk about on this show how much we hate cops. And exhibit number 9564, former Maine police officer sentenced on 14 felony charges. Now, I just want to say this much. You know, cops, they love talking about fentanyl. We're going to give kids the rainbow fentanyl. By we, I mean, you know, me, like the drug dealers, right? We're going to give kids the fucking rainbow fentanyl. They're all going to die. It's going to be like, it's going to be crazy, all right? It's going to be fucking crazy ass shit, right? That's what the cops, they love talking about. Don't go trick-or-treating, kids. Rainbow fentanyl is going to fuck you up in the face, right? And also this headline is burying the lead here. A former police officer who was arrested for dealing drugs. Less than a week after he retired from the Calais Police Department, will be sentenced next month on more than a dozen criminal charges. Jeffrey Bishop, 55, pleaded guilty last month to drug trafficking and furnishing, stealing drugs, and multiple counts of receiving stolen property. He is scheduled to be sentenced on 14 felony charges in Mackay, I don't know, I guess that's in Maine. Bishop was arrested in February 2021 after he was seen giving drugs to a 17-year-old girl in the parking lot of a Narraguagas high school in Harrington. The drugs, which were inside an unmarked prescription pill bottle and were intended for the girl's mother, included 27 acetaminophen and hydrosodone or codone pills and 3 baggies of fentanyl and synthetic opioid 100 times more potent than heroin, police have said. Now, I have a question. Police all across the country, from like California to Florida to Oklahoma, police all across the country have said that if you get even within like a 2-foot radius of fentanyl, that you can get an overdose and die. So can someone tell me how it's possible that this ex-cop is giving away and selling baggies of fentanyl? How is that possible? How is he not dead yet? This motherfucker's putting fentanyl in baggies. He probably touched it with his fingers. How did he not overdose and die instantly? It's almost like police departments lie all the time. Also, again, I love the idea that a cop is the one selling drugs to kids. I love it. I love it. I love it. All they do is cry and cry. Oh my God, the fentanyl, the kids are gonna die, right? And then they're the ones selling fentanyl to kids. In all, 35 different charges were filed against Bishop. Of those, 21 charges are being dismissed as part of a plea deal with the State Attorney General's office, including several theft charges related to guns. Among the charges Bishop pleaded guilty to is a charge of stealing oxycodone that was in possession of the Calais Police Department. So he retires, but right before he retires, he peruses the evidence locker, takes all the shit, and then sells it to kids? Isn't that great? Isn't that cool? This is what our police do with our resources, by the way. They steal our drugs and then sell them to kids. Think about that. Like, where did they get those drugs in the evidence locker? Probably not from kids, right? They probably stole them from, regular adults that just wanted drugs or whatever. So they steal your drugs and then sell them to kids. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy shit. But anyway, so there you go. You can read more on this incident. But on this show, I talk about how much I hate cops, and got to throw another example into the giant collection of stories about why cops are garbage. But once again, the real shocking part of this is that apparently you can just touch fentanyl and put it in a baggie. Now, again, if you're reading all these stories from police departments, they say if you even smell, like if you're in like a 5, 12, maybe 16-foot radius and you even get a whiff of fentanyl, you'll die instantly. You'll start overdosing instantly. That's what cops have said, literally. I mean, you can look this up. You can go look at those videos. Remember that video that the sheriff's department released where like someone pretended to like have rabies and like foam at the mouth because they like opened a trunk and like in the trunk was like a sealed box of fentanyl, but they opened the trunk and then pretended to overdose and then they made a whole video about it. Remember that? I covered that on my show. Anyway, that's funny. You know what else is funny? Cops stealing drugs from adults and then selling them to kids. That's even funnier. So, there you go. Got a show going on today. Does anyone here want to talk about bullshit? Does anyone here want to fucking talk about bullshit? Huh? Anyone? Because I don't. Here's some news here. Clarence Thomas is at it again, folks. Clarence Thomas freezes an order for Lindsey Graham to testify before Georgia grand jury investigating 2020 election. So isn't this interesting? So Clarence Thomas married to Ginny Thomas. Ginny Thomas, someone that believes in election conspiracy theories. And now Clarence Thomas is ruling in favor of election conspiracy theories and protecting other people from being held responsible for peddling election conspiracy theories. Whoa. Holy shit. Justice Clarence Thomas on Monday agreed to temporarily freeze a lower court order requiring the testimony of Republican Senator Lindsey Graham in front of an Atlanta area special grand jury that is investigating efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election in the state. Thomas acted alone because he has jurisdiction of the lower court that issued the original order. Thomas's move is an administrative stay that was most likely issued Monday to give the Supreme Court justices more time to consider the dispute. The court has asked for a response from the Georgia investigators by Thursday. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, a Democrat, is spearheading the special grand jury investigation into Donald Trump-aligned efforts to manipulate the results of the 2020 election in Georgia. She has indicated that she would like to question Graham on calls he made to the election officials in Georgia after the election. The South Carolina Republican senator is arguing that such testimony is foreclosed by the Constitution's speech or debate clause. This motherfucker's like, I don't need to go to your grand jury. Why? Constitution says so. When Thomas Jeffrey was writing the Constitution, and he put a special clause in the Constitution, anyone who's from South Carolina with the name Graham is exempt from, testifying on, trying to explain the crimes of someone. That's what Jeffrey Thomas said. And the guy, then he signed the thing, and then now America. What? The Constitution? What the fuck? Like when cops come to my door and say, hey, buddy, come with me. What am I going to say? The Constitution says I don't have to come with you? Well, you know what's going to happen? They're going to fucking drag me. They're going to fucking pull me by the hair out of my house, right? Like, Lindsey Graham is just like, Constitution says I don't have to get these on my go. Oh, lower courts have said that to the extent Graham was making the calls to the Georgia election officials as part of a fact-finding for the congressional certification of President Joe Biden's win, that could be out of bounds under the Constitution, but the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has said communications and coordination with the Trump campaign regarding its post-election efforts in Georgia, public statements regarding the 2020 election efforts to cajole or exhort Georgia election officials are not legislative activities protected by the speech and debate clause. Willis's probe recently secured the grand jury testimony of former Georgia Republican Sen. Kelly Loeffler and former White House counsel Pat Cipollone. CNN reported last week, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, the Georgia grand jury special probe, whatever it is, looking into, again, the Georgia phone call with the Secretary of State that was released the day before the special elections, and the special elections were the day before January 6th, so of course that's all memory hold. Lindsey Graham, of course, was going out there. He was one of the chief election deniers. Like, right after the election, Lindsey Graham was like, what can I do for you, sir? How can I keep you in office, sir? Would you like to be king, sir? Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Do you want me to make a phone call, sir? Do you want me to go on CNN, sir, and say this? Would you like me to rub your feet, sir? That was Lindsey Graham. And guess what? He's going to get away with it. Why? Because we don't live in a country of law and order. We don't. We live in an aristocracy where the rich, the elite, the powerful can do whatever they want at the expense of you, and they get away with it, and they laugh in your face about it. That's where we live. So, cool. That's a good story, and let's move on. On behalf of Orange Men. All right, so we got a show. Today is the day where I get on my chair and I do a show. Today, where's Max? Maxie! Trying to get this dog over here. Max! 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 Oh my God, he's here. Look at this Max. I know you can't see him too well, but I'm petting the shit out of him. And he is sniffing my leg. Max, why are you sniffing my leg? Why you do that? Oh my god, this goddamn Max dog. He's a shark dog, by the way. I don't know if anyone can see this. Max, you're a shark dog. He's a shark dog. All right, Maxie. All right, your TV time is over. Get the hell out of here. All right. Oh. Got a show going on today. And I'm on my second cup of coffee this morning. And gonna be doing some news on the news show today. Gonna be jumping into a horror film review at the end of the program. Watched a classic, another debate. Is it horror? I mean, it was in the horror category on the streaming service I checked it out on. But is it horror? We'll have that conversation. I'm pretty convinced that it is horror. And I got a horror themed shirt, as you can see, because I love horror. I'm a horror fan, and I like horror. Reminder, y'all. Reminder, like hello, like how many fucking times do I have to tell you fucking people to subscribe to my new YouTube channel so that I can get monetized? I am currently about 8% of the way to being monetized. Not as close as I would like to be. I would like to be 80% or higher theoretically, but I am 8% of the way there in less than a week to become monetized. If you want to help me out, subscribe. There you go. Every time I do the thing, I get like 1 or 2 more. So yes, Rielon, I know all of y'all are subscribed, but sometimes you never know. Someone might pop in. This is their once a week. Above It All. I watch Above It All every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, I'll wake up and I'll make myself some coffee. I smoke a cigarette filled with marijuana and I'll watch the Above It All show, but only on Tuesday. Only on Tuesday. Right, anyway, so subscribe to the channel. All right, so on my second cup of coffee, every once in a while I drink coffee really fast and it fucks me up. Like, I don't know, is this what cocaine feels like? Probably not. But like, I'm all hopped the fuck up. I'm hyper. I'm ready to scream. I'm ready to make random noises. And you know what I'm ready to say? I'm ready to say that let's go into the Dark Brandon. I wanted to cover this one. Someone sent me this clip the other day, because apparently Joe Biden, aka Dark Brandon, so-called, has been going out there and he's doing midterm campaigning, and a couple people have sent me some clips. I watched a couple of them. This one was the most entertaining to me, so I wanted to check this one out. And again, what's my prognosis on the midterm elections? All right, look at the congressional ballot polls. Democrats are like 1 to 2 points on average ahead of Republicans in congressional ballot polling. Donald Trump and his group have said that they're already laying the groundwork to try to overturn elections that are close. So if generic ballot polling suggests the Democrats are going to win by 1 or 2 points, Donald Trump's team is saying that he wants to challenge any election that's within a couple points. We're fucked. Anyway, so Dark Brandon is going out there and he's trying his best to campaigning for Democrats. Again, the thing that the Democrats do that really blows my mind is they will do things that are actually really good, and then they won't tell anybody, right? They might say as they're doing it, but then they stop talking about it, right? Like Joe Biden did the student loan debt forgiveness, and again, judges and Republicans are trying to block it, right? And you know, he just kind of stopped talking about it for a while, but now he's back in. And remember when the White House Twitter account tweeted out this long, epic thread of like just totally destroying these fucking stupid ass MAGA Republicans, right? These dumbass motherfuckers. Like they hired that bitch from New Jersey to run the social media, and she was like, "Ow!" Right? So anyway, Joe Biden is bringing it back, and he's talking once again now that Republicans are trying to block student loan debt. He's talking about it, and this is a pretty good clip. So I wanted to watch this one and check it out. So this is what we're dealing with when it comes to Dark Brandon, folks. And again, this is what's so shocking about Democrats when they actually do something that's moderately decent, is because Democrats are essentially professional losers, right? Like, let's be real, let's be honest. Look at the Democratic Party over the last 30 years, 40 years. They are losers. They're losers. It's a losing party. They're losers. They're fucking stupid ass, dumb fuck losers, right? Like, let's be honest. Let's be real, right? Anytime they do something good, they run away from it. And every time they do something bad, they talk about it endlessly. They're professional losers, right? And so when you look at a Democrat who's doing something not even good, like not even like, damn, that's epic, but just like, oh yeah, you're acknowledging reality a little bit, like once or twice. Like that's why it's so shocking. Like whenever we see like Joe Biden go out there and say something that's like milk toast, but like in a good direction, like we're like, holy fuck, Dark Brandon, laser eyes, you know, because it's just so rare that a Democrat would do that. But anyway, let's jump in.
I want to hear it from MAGA Republicans, officials who had hundreds of thousands of dollars of debts, even millions of dollars in pandemic relief loans forgiven, who now are attacking me for helping working class and middle class Americans. My team at the White House posted a video of this, folks, online. You should check it out. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she and her husband got $180,000 in business loans forgiven.
Just real quick correction. Marjorie Taylor Greene and her husband? Surely you mean ex-husband.
From the PPP program. She said it's completely unfair for us to forgive student loans for working and middle class Americans. Representative Vern Buchanan of Florida said our plan was reckless. Guess how much he got in that program? Forgiven. $2,300,000.
So real quick, this one, I'm going to rewind this here for a second. So for those of you that don't understand the PPP program, it was passed in the CARES Act, right, of, I want to say March of 2020, maybe it could have been April, March, I think. And this is where the clip really starts to get good. So anyway, so the PPP was essentially a program to pay companies, corporations, small businesses, right? It was the Paycheck Protection Program, right? So you pay them, and then they pass that on to their employees. That way they can pay them to stay home, right? So you have employees. Let's say you have 15 employees, right? You got like 3, fucking stores in one neighborhood. You got 15 employees total. You get a loan from the PPP, and, it covers your employees' paycheck so they can stay home to protect themselves against coronavirus or whatever. Now, imagine that scenario, right? Like, whoa, people stayed home to protect themselves from a deadly virus. Imagine that happening in 2022, right? But anyway, but what happened was essentially the way the bill and the law was worded, right? Again, this is during the Trump administration, the corporate fucking whore administration, the Donald Trump administration, full of corporate cocksucking whores, elite, rich kid, trust fund baby, ivory tower douchebags. The way they wrote that law was basically, now again, it was advertised as a way to protect small businesses, but essentially what it did was it allowed anyone that has any sort of like LLC or any sort of like registered business to just borrow money. Now, again, they borrowed the money and it was like a low interest, or I think it was maybe even a 0 interest loan, right? They pay it back at some point. But then later on, they basically decided to forgive the PPP loans, they being the U.S. government. So what that means is these members of Congress, they basically have fake businesses, right, where they just took money from, ostensibly to pay their employees, which they may or may not have done, but maybe they took, like, I don't know, maybe they took, like, let's say they took $100,000 just to make it easy, but the duration of the lockdown, whatever you want to say, would they would only need to pay $70,000 to their employees, so they keep the other 30, right? Or let's say this: you get $100,000, you don't even give it to your employees, you throw it in the NASDAQ, you throw it in the fucking whatever the fuck, throw it in a fucking oil company, maybe you throw whatever, right? You got an insider trading deal, you throw it in there. It's a zero interest loan, right? So you throw it in there. Let's say the economy crashes, right? But you picked a winner. You picked like one of the companies that did really well, right? Which did happen in late 2020, early and mid 2021. A lot of like, again, you have the crypto craze and all that stuff that was going on, right? So a lot of people made a lot of money. And then you just pay back the original and then you just keep all the profit. But then imagine this. You don't even have to pay back the original loan. So you got a zero interest loan. You made a fuckload of money off of it, investing it into the stock market, utilizing your insider trading technology or your insider trading information, and then just you don't even have to pay it back. That's fucked up, right? And then these same douchebag motherfuckers are going to go out there and say $10,000 for a student loan forgiveness. That again, it's a good chunk, it's nice, but it's a drop in the bucket. Let's be honest. And they're going out there saying that's going to destroy the economy. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so this is when the clip gets good.
Forgiven. $2,300,000. This is not a joke. Can't make this stuff up. Republican governors wrote me a letter saying this relief only helps the elite few. Y'all know you're the elite few? I knew you were really special, but I know you're the elite few. I'm serious. Ted Cruz, the great senator from Texas, he said it's for slackers, quote, slackers who don't deserve relief. Who in the hell do they think they are?
So anyway, now again, this is a blueprint, right? This is like the prototype. This is how Democrats need to behave on a national level. Instead of Democrats going like, AOC is so far left, she's a communist, she's going to destroy America and defund the police. Right? Instead of like Tim Ryan going out there and saying, I agree with the Republicans, the student loan is bad. Right? Instead of that, national Democrats, all of them, every single one, needs to have a unified message, run on the good things the Democrats have done, and call the fuck out by name the shitfuck Republicans. Call them out by name with facts and fuck them up. And again, we never see Democrats do this because Democrats are professional losers. And so that's why Joe Biden going out there and doing this is so rare. Like, whoa, a Democrat campaigning in a way that's not pathetic? Like, again, this is the prototype. This is the bare minimum. Probably not even the bare minimum. But this is stuff that we need to see more of. And again, these Republicans are full of fucking shit. But ultimately, we need to understand hypocrisy doesn't matter to these people. They know they're hypocrites. They don't care. That's the thing about Republicans. They don't care. There's no logic, right? Again, like in political discourse, right? In this like American ideal, right? People say, oh, both sides come to the table, they debate and they compromise. That's not a thing with Republicans. Right? When you sit at the table and debate, that implies that there's like a logic to arguments. Right? That implies that like you share a language. Like imagine debating, like you're an American, you speak English, no other language, and imagine debating the economy with someone that speaks and only speaks Mandarin. You can't do it. You can't. You can't. It's impossible to debate the economy with someone who speaks Mandarin when you only speak English. You just can't do it. Okay? That's essentially what's going on in Congress, right? Republicans, they don't follow the same language or logic trains or trees that other people do. They just don't. They don't. So when they say shit like student loan debt only helps the ivory elites in the elite few, that doesn't mean anything. Like, it is factually not true, and they say it anyway. They know it's not true, and they say it anyway. So ultimately, hypocrisy is a tool designed to confuse everyone else, right? Because that, like, oh, Ted Cruz did this, but also, look, Ted Cruz is a hypocrite. He doesn't care. Any time and energy you spent debunking misinformation or disinformation or verifiably proving someone to be a hypocrite is time you could have been spending, right, trying to gain power, right? So now, again, I do think it's important for that message to be getting out there, but that is the starting line. It's the starting line. Pointing out Republican hypocrisy is like step one, right? It's not even, it's like, it's part A of step one, right? Call them out, but ultimately what you need to do is 1, good legislation. 2, run on and remind everyone of good legislation. 3, call out your opponents by name with facts and verifiably prove them to be monsters, which is easy. It's Republicans, for Christ's sake. That's easy. Did you know that the average American, check this out. This is how I know that Americans are fucking stupid. Check this out. The average American genuinely believes that Republicans are fiscally responsible and are better on the issue of the economy. And so what is one of the biggest things going on in the world? Inflation, right? Americans are so fucking stupid that they navigate this world and somehow come to the conclusion that Republicans are fiscally responsible conservatives that want to balance the budget. Like, where did that come from? Did that come from the same place that said Omicron was mild? Like, where is there like a propaganda factory that's coming out there and coming up with some really fucked up, crazy shit? Right? So again, Democrats theoretically want to win elections, right? So they should be talking about how that's just not true. That is one of the most pervasive myths in American society today, almost up there with God and Jesus, right? So, again, when Americans are propagandized to believe inflation is only an American problem, because Americans don't give a fuck about the rest of the world. They don't care about the rest of the world. They don't give a fuck. You think Americans care about the status of European economies? You think America gives a fuck? They don't even know what's going on at all. The average American, if you were to ask the average American, right, what they think about inflation and how it's affecting the global economy, they would just talk about America. They wouldn't know anything about European inflation. They wouldn't know anything about supply lines. They don't care. They don't know anything about that. Why? Because Americans are purposefully educated with disinformation to put them in boxes where they could only think about things with a couple of concepts that are both like heavily right-wing overall. So anyway, but again, so combine Americans not knowing anything about global economies with Americans somehow thinking Republicans are better. There's no evidence for that. If you ask them for evidence, they can't. Like, ask someone who thinks Republicans are better on the economy for evidence, and they won't be able to do it. They just can't, right? So you combine all these things. So that means, again, if Democrats want to win, they need to start by educating their electorate. They need to start by saying, hey, there is an inflation epidemic. Maybe you could even use the term pandemic all across the world, right? And it's actually affecting Europe way more than us. And again, inflation is bad. And so that's why I'm going to go up there and say, corporations need to be nationalized. Like, I'm going to announce that I support nationalizing all oil and energy corporations so that we can stop exporting our crucial energy for private profit. That would be what Joe Biden would be saying. Now, again, I know Joe Biden has been doing a little bit of anti-corporate stuff, but again, it's not nearly enough. And anyway, I think Democrats are probably not going to do so well in the midterms. I'm scared. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm scared. I'm scared as hell. This is my, if Republicans win either the House or the Senate, all they need is one, and America's fucked, right? I need you to understand this. If Republicans can just win the House majority by one seat, we're fucked. We're fucked. Why? Because they'll block everything. They'll block everything. So there's going to be no more legislation that will be passed via Congress, right, that will have any impact positively on American citizens. It's over. It's over. As soon as Republicans win one over the 50% plus one in either chamber, we're fucked. It's over. It's over. It's done. Like, I'm telling you, this is... So they're going to win. They're going to block everything that Biden wants to do that's good for you, right? Then they're going to lie about it and say that Biden's not doing anything, even though Biden's trying to do stuff, but they're blocking it. Then they're going to campaign on how Biden is a feckless loser, which would be true in this instance because he hasn't passed anything. Then they're going to use that to fuel the 2024 campaign, which if Biden is running in 2024 is going to be a death sentence. I say this, death sentence for this country. I say this. If Republicans win either chamber, Biden has to step down from 2024. It's non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. I mean, I think that should be the case regardless. That's my opinion. He should not run for another term regardless. But if Republicans win in either chamber, he needs to immediately bow out of the 2024 race because it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. Republicans are going to spend 2 years doing fake investigations into Hunter Biden's laptop, right? And the Democrats aren't going to do anything to combat the disinformation. The average American is going to be brainwashed enough to vote for a Republican in 2024. Again, Biden needs to drop the fuck out immediately if Democrats do not win in both chambers. That is the only option. But obviously the best option would be if Republicans don't win in both chambers and Democrats can either keep the majorities or expand them. That's the best possible outcome for this country. But is that going to happen? I don't know. Anyway, I will be doing a midterm election stream. So if you want to tune in and check it out with me, that would be great. But, yeah, there you go. Dark Brandon. A little late, but better late than never, right? Maybe? I don't know. Lauren, real name, I would say, like, my opinion is on principle. I would not want to platform crazy people or debate them because it gives them an air of legitimacy. That's my principle. But also, understand that most Americans are fucking stupid. Like, again, this is the thing we need to understand as a society, is Americans are fucking morons, right? So there is no way that you can refuse to debate a crazy Republican, and the average American will not see that as cowardly. It's just not going to happen. There is nothing that the Democratic candidate for Arizona's governor can say that will prove that she is not a coward in the eyes of the average American, because Americans are fucking stupid, right? Like, Americans love the spectacle. They love these, like, grand gestures of, like, nobility that don't actually mean anything. They love when people prove themselves in ways that don't actually prove themselves. They love these, like, superficial fucking gestures, right? Again, if I were in that position, I would have debated the bitch, and I would have done so in a way that would, basically I'd give her the enough rope to hang herself method of debate. And a lot of Democrats have been doing that with the QAnon folks. It's been working in a lot of instances. Again, we saw that there's a debate with Ron DeSantis and the other guy. I haven't seen it yet. A couple people told me to check it out. I'm not going to check it out today, but maybe tomorrow. If you want to send me any clips on the Ron DeSantis governor debate, send me them, and I'll check it out tomorrow for tomorrow's show. But everything that we do, and when it comes to politics, Especially if you're running for office, right? If I'm just blogging on my show, I can say whatever I want. But if I'm going to try to run for office or represent an organization, right, all that kind of stuff, we need to understand the average American has an IQ that is, you know, it's so far removed from like what we can be as a species that it's probably safe to say that they're a subspecies of some kind. Like, I don't know, like Neanderthal DNA is flourishing in the average American population. Right? So we need to understand that. Everything we do in a public political lens has to be digestible to the dumbest motherfucker you've ever met and someone even dumber than that. Think about the dumbest motherfucker you've ever met in your life. Think about it. Could be a family member, could be a coworker, could be someone you met in college, high school, whatever. Think about, like politically, the dumbest motherfucker you've ever met, and then compare them to the average American. So yeah, I think that Hobbes should have debated Kerry Lake. That's my opinion on that. But you know, I guess we'll see how it goes. How's everyone doing today? I'm a little hyper today. Hopped up on caffeine, so you know. You're getting one of those shows. Every show is like, it depends on which drug cocktail I've taken in like the last 16 hours, right? Like sometimes I'm doing the show and I'm like, right? Sometimes I'm doing the show and I'm like fucking like wine bottle in hand and I'm like, right? And sometimes I'm doing the show and I'm like, right? And that's today. That's today's show. I'm going to drink some more coffee here. All right. So this one is going to be complicated, folks. We're going to jump right in. So I saw this morning on Twitter a bunch of tweets of people bashing AOC. And I'm thinking, AOC is getting bashed again? Oh, boy. This is a complicated subject here. So there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of context that we need to discuss before we can properly digest this son of a bitchin' meal. So let's start with this headline. This is, I would categorize this under the October surprise, grouping of, headlines and news stories that we're going to be seeing here. Absolutely one of them. Liberal Democrats call on Biden to shift Ukraine strategy. This headline is misleading. It's just misleading. It just is, right? Now, I'm going to tell you why in a moment here. But we're going to go deeper on this. Now, this is, again, a nuanced situation. You just can't take one side, oh, they're evil, or they're the smartest motherfuckers in the world. You can't. That's not a situation here. More than 24 liberal House members are, liberal, this is, I don't know, on the language thing. Like, these are not liberals, right? Liberal is Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden, right? These are progressive, right? These are left-leaning, right? Left-wing is a better word. Liberal is the worst way to describe the progressive caucus in the U.S. House. I'm just saying. Are calling on Joe Biden to shift course in his Ukraine strategy and pursue direct diplomacy with Russia to bring the months-long conflict to an end. In a letter sent to Biden on Monday. Now, again, the letter sent to Biden on Monday is a key detail here. The group of 30 Democrats praised Biden's efforts to date at supporting Ukraine while avoiding direct U.S. involvement on the ground. But they suggest a more forceful attempt at bringing the war to an end through diplomacy is necessary to prevent a long and slugging conflict. Quote, given the destruction created by the war for Ukraine and the world, as well as the risk of catastrophic escalation, we also believe it is in the interests of Ukraine, the United States, and the world to avoid a prolonged conflict. The group, led by Congressional Progressive Caucus Chairwoman Pramila Jayapal, write in a letter. For this reason, we urge you to pair the military and economic support the United States has provided to Ukraine with a proactive diplomatic push, redoubling efforts to seek a realistic framework for a ceasefire. Now, again, hold the phone before you make any sort of judgment. I know a lot of people in my audience are going to make a snap judgment in some way or the other. Now, I hope the majority of my audience is intelligent enough to hold the fucking phone for a second here. In fact, I'm going to give you a visual representation here. Hold the fucking phone, okay? You see this? This is a cell phone, right? It tells the time. That's all I use it for. You can't actually see the time. You just saw the reflection. That's my dog. And I'm holding the phone, so just... The letter comes at a critical moment in the war as Russia is increasingly targeting civilian infrastructure with particular focus on cutting power supplies to Ukrainian citizens ahead of winter. In Congress, questions have grown at the willingness of lawmakers to sustain the massive financial and military support that has gone to Ukraine. Some Republicans have threatened to cut aid to the country if they take control of Congress in November. Another thing, if Republicans take control of Congress in November, Ukraine is gone. Now, again, hey, maybe it's possible that that's not the case, right? I could be wrong, but I'm going to tell you this. If Republicans take control of Congress and somehow stop all funding for Ukrainian defense, Ukraine is gone. It's over. It's done. Now, is Europe going to still supply them with a lot of stuff? Absolutely. Right? Is it going to be sustained for a longer period of time than immediate? Absolutely. But overall, I think the trajectory of the war with Russia, more particularly, I should say, Russia's illegal imperialistic invasion of another country, Ukraine, I think that the tides will turn. I think if the U.S. funding for Ukraine stops, I think morale will drop for the Ukrainians, and I think morale will increase for the Russians. I think that the Ukrainians will be less equipped over time. It's going to be bad, okay? That said, I'm not guaranteeing that Republicans will strip funding for Ukraine. I know that that's a big divided issue in the Republicans right now. So I'm not sure, but I'm just saying it's probably not going to be good. Now, back to this letter, this so-called letter. The liberal Democrats in their letter say that more direct attempts at engaging Moscow in diplomacy were necessary as the war drags on. Quote, "We are under no illusions regarding the difficulties involved in engaging Russia given its outrageous and illegal invasion of Ukraine and its decision to make additional illegal annexations of Ukrainian territory," the lawmakers wrote. "However, if there is a way to end the war while preserving a free and independent Ukraine, it is America's responsibility to pursue every diplomatic avenue to support such a solution that is acceptable to the people of Ukraine." So, this letter is, I'm gonna give you my verdict, a nothing burger. This letter is worthless. It doesn't mean anything. This is just like, now a lot of people are speculating that AOC signed on to this letter because she got protested by like fascists. You know, again, timeline here. AOC does an event, right? And fascist, like literally, open, proud, Trump supporting, MAGA, like right-wing in every regard, fascists, quote-unquote, protest one of her town halls and talk about Ukraine or whatever, and they say that AOC is responsible for a nuclear war. Like, that's what they say. I'm not paraphrasing. Go watch the clip. So some people are saying that AOC is trying to appease those people. I disagree. I think that this letter literally means nothing. I'm going to go out there and say this. This letter is worthless and means nothing. Now, the headlines and the way that this story is going to be discussed is extremely important, but the letter itself and what is indicated in the letter is ultimately useless, right? Because again, both parts, one, they need to be more diplomatic with Russia or pursue quote unquote like all diplomatic relations or whatever. Okay. Everyone believes that. Everyone believes that. Okay. But then they say, we understand that Russia is a belligerent and they're a bad actor and they're the ones who probably aren't going to do anything. We understand that, but you should try anyway. Again, it effectively means nothing, right? The policy, they're not acted like they're literally not trying to change U.S. policy because U.S. Diplomatic policy for Ukraine is exactly what they're describing that they want. They tried diplomatic efforts in February and January, failed. March, they tried, failed. They tried sanctions, failed. Right? They tried all forms of diplomacy from every position, and it's failed. Why? Because Russia, headed by Vladimir Putin, is a belligerent and an offensive imperialistic invasion, right? And he does not want to give up. That's just it. So the letter is basically saying, you should do this thing, but if it doesn't work, it's okay, and we understand. The letter means nothing. right? The letter, they're not actively pushing the U.S. in any sort of policy change, right? They're just saying that they support the policy. It's virtue signaling, right? In the literal sense. This is like a literal example of virtue signaling. They're just signaling, hey, we want diplomacy, but we know it's probably not going to happen, but we want it anyway. That's all this is. Now, another thing that's interesting about this that I saw is Mark Pocan went on Twitter after this news story started going. And Mark Pocan says, in response to criticism, hear you first, this was written in July. And I have no idea why it went out now. Bad timing. Second, it was trying to get to a ceasefire and diplomacy as others were banging war drums, not criticizing Biden. Third, I've supported the efforts and will continue, overanalyzed by some. This is Mark Pocan, who's a part of this letter, who's claiming that this letter that's being talked about in the news was written in July. Now, is that possible? Yes. But what? If it was written in July, why would it be publicized now? It's an October surprise, right? But like, again, the letter is a nothing burger. So in order for this to be an October surprise, headlines need to dramatize it. They need to hyperbolize it. Like, again, liberal Democrats call on Biden to shift Ukraine strategy. That is disinformation. Now, again, just to be clear, this is not Fox News. This is CNN. Just to be clear, this is CNN. This is not true. The letter does not call on Biden to shift Ukraine strategy. It says that Biden should pursue all available diplomatic relationships possible to engage in a ceasefire, but also we know that he's doing that and that it's not working because Vladimir Putin is crazy. So it's just not what the letter says. I don't know what to tell you, right? That's just not true. Right? Like, this is a lie. Like, this is straight up disinformation. This is like OAN, Newsmax, or whatever. This is like just straight up fucking, this is lying, okay? But again, the letter, I also don't understand the point of the letter, right? It's virtue signaling, but like, everyone already knows that they have these virtues anyway. So it's just like, it's weird. But let's keep going with this thread here. Someone else on Twitter responds to Mark Pocan by saying, I don't think it was written in July eases my concerns. That letter is just as ill-considered and contradictory in July as it is now. I look forward to your strong support for Ukraine in the face of lawless invasion. We don't need any more Russian adventures in Europe. It never said anything about not having strong support for Ukraine. All of us have voted for funding and will continue. I think you are trying to sensationalize the letter. Show me where it says we should stop support for Ukraine. Didn't think so. So, again, now, we can go out here and say Mark Pocan is lying. The letter was written last week and that they secretly do want to change Biden's policy here. But again, we can read the letter. And CNN literally posts the letter here. Now, again, I can understand how someone who doesn't really understand what's going on with Ukraine would read this letter and think, oh, the liberals, or, I can understand that, right? But like, again, this is where news propaganda is flourishing, right? It's a letter that it literally is just saying, hey, Biden, you should be more diplomatic, maybe, but I already know you are diplomatic, and I'm assuming that you're being as diplomatic as possible, but I love diplomacy, and I want the war to end, and I hate war, so I'm going to write a letter saying I don't like war, even though I know Russia's the belligerent and they're not responding. I'm just going to say I just want to write a letter that says I don't like war. That's essentially what this letter is. It's a letter. AOC's involved, right? That's where I saw this from. It's a letter that basically says, we don't like war. That's it. It's not calling for a shift in policy. It's not criticizing Biden's policy agenda, or it's not criticizing Ukraine funding. It's literally just a letter that it could have just been, we don't like war, signed 30 whatever. Like, that could have been the letter. It's the same fucking thing, right? But again, the world we live in now, right? Like, you could just lie about something and then boom, you're CNN, one of the most trusted whatever sources in media, and you just lie about it. Fuck it. Whatever. Surprise, bitch! It's October. Now again, does the letter have any point? I would have preferred if they didn't write a letter. The letter has no point. There is no point to the letter. It's just virtue signaling what all of their constituents already know are their beliefs. So why even write the letter? It's weird. Why even sign on to the letter? It's fucking weird. I don't know. I can't answer those questions. But I can tell you that this letter was not written to appease like some guy who's like a fucking neo-Nazi who was protesting at AOC's event. I can tell you that, right? Unless these are time-traveling neo-Nazis that like went back in time to like secretly make AOC sign this letter like 4 months ago or whatever, right? And then like going forward in time and then release the like I don't know. Unless they're time-traveling neo-Nazis, whatever. But ultimately, I think the letter is useless. It doesn't really mean anything. And that goes for both ways, right? Like, I'm not going to criticize them for really writing the letter because there's really nothing to criticize in the letter. It's just like this is a non-story. This is a nothing burger. Unless there's some magical detail that I have missed. This is an irrelevant story, and I guarantee you people are going to freak the fuck out about this for the next couple days. I guarantee you. And I guarantee you the Jimmy Dore squad, like the neo-Nazi fucking adjacent people that are showing up at this fucking goddamn neo-Nazi convention or whatever that were protesting at AOC's town hall, I guarantee you they're going to run with this and they're going to have a great fundraising event. I guarantee you Jimmy Dore is going to have some fun-ass fundraising events based on this. I guarantee you this is going to help a lot of people in the disinformation grifting networks. But I'm not in those networks, and I read the letter, and it means nothing, so I'm just here to tell you it means nothing. So, there you go. Boom. Bivalent boasted. You're part of the 5% of Americans, Lindsay. By the way, speaking of percentage and Americans, yesterday on my show I was talking about child COVID rates, and I said the statistic was 83% of children have had COVID at least one time under 18s. Under 18s have had COVID at least one time. Well, the number is now 86%. Of course, it can only go up. You can't uninfect yourself with COVID once, right? So the number can only go up. And I checked the CDC statistics yesterday, and 86% of under 18s have had COVID at least once. I saw there's a new study that's come out. It's not peer-reviewed yet, so I'm not going to show it on my show quite yet. But it does show some alarming similarities between COVID-19 long COVID, right? Long COVID infections and AIDS. It shows some striking similarities between how AIDS affects the body and long COVID. Right now, again, it's not peer-reviewed, so I'm not going to cover it on my show just yet. I'm just saying, something to look out for. Long COVID studies have also said it can cause neurological damage. It can cause, again, immunosuppressing issues. It can cause organ failure. People have been infected with COVID and they've had live virus found in their hearts 6 months later, right? So again, that we know. That's peer-reviewed. That's really relevant information. But there's also more information coming out that's just, it's just not good. You don't want to get COVID. But also reminder, 86% of under 18s in this country have had COVID at least once. 86%. An entire generation. So I'm just throwing that out there. Little update to yesterday's story. But that's pretty much it for the news portion of today's program. Going to be jumping into a horror movie review pretty soon here. But if anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns, comments, or concerns. That's right. Cute cock! Hit me up. Questions? You have questions? I got answers. You got concerns? I got whatever is the equivalent for concerns. You got comments? Well, I got nothing for you, but I will read your comments. So, is it going to rain today? I have no idea. I don't check the weather. I just react as my body perceives the environment around me. I react in real time. I don't ever really check the weather, unless I'm like, planning a 2-hour walk. Like if I'm gonna walk somewhere that's a really long way away, I'll check the weather. Or if I'm gonna be planning like a trip of some kind, something like that. But on the day to day, I don't check the weather. Oh, I got there and they had no record of my appointment. I love when that happens. But luckily, I took a screenshot of the confirmation and was like, do y'all know what it's like for me to leave the house? I mean, I would imagine they don't know what it's like for you to leave the house. Will I do a Twitch stream today? Yes, I will do a Twitch stream today. For the Spook 6 Ular, this is the last week of October. For the video game portion of the Spook 6 Ular, hello Barbara Bloom. I'm going to be playing 2 more games this year for the Spook 6 Ular. 2 more games. Now, if you've been following me for many years, I usually play a lot more games than I played this year. This year, I decided to focus on horror movies rather than horror games. I played all the horror games, that I'm going to be playing. So, again, I just wanted to focus on a different thing this year. But there's 2 more games that I'm going to be playing on Twitch for the Spook 6 Ular. One of them is a classic. You probably have seen me play it before, but if not, you'll love it. The other one is a game I have never played before. I've never played it before. It's new. It's a horror game, and I have never, ever played it before in my entire life. And to be honest, I know nothing about it. Never seen a trailer. Never saw gameplay footage. No one's ever spoiled the story. And I'm going to be starting that game tonight. So I'm just going to, I was not sure if I was going to do it tomorrow or today. But, you asked me the question, so I had to respond. So I'll start it today. And now, I will say this much. Either October 30 or October 31. I'm not sure yet. I will be playing a classic. I'm not going to tell you what it is quite yet. Probably you're able to guess if you know what, if you know a little bit about how I choose games and stuff. But I'm not sure if I'm going to do that on Halloween night. Because I'm going to be honest. I want to do a lot of drugs on Halloween night. So I'm not sure if whatever drug cocktail I'm going to be consuming on Halloween night is going to be helpful when it comes to streaming. I'm not sure. So I might play this game on October 30th instead. I'm not sure. We'll see. I'll keep you posted. Or I don't know. I'll keep you posted. That's all I can tell you. A few of my friends have experienced vertigo over the last few months. I believe it to be long COVID related because we were all young and healthy otherwise. Yeah, vertigo. I mean, what is vertigo, right? It's like, your body is incapable of reaching a form of equilibrium, and it results in you perceiving gravity and your place on the ground a little bit fucked up. Like when you have vertigo, you fall over, right? You get nauseous, you get dizzy, right? It's motion sickness, that kind of thing. It's imagine if you spin in a circle, right? Now, again, vertigo is not always that similar, right? But imagine if you spin in a circle and try to walk straight, it's going to be pretty rough, right? So, I can absolutely see that to be related to long COVID. I haven't read any studies on it, but, Did I see the Silent Hill 2 remake trailer? I don't want to know anything about the remake. I'm already going to buy it. I'm already going to play it. So spoiling it does nothing for me other than make my experience when I play the remake worse. So I know that there's a remake, and I'm not going to look at anything at all. I take this approach with most things. I don't like trailers. I don't like looking at screenshots. I don't like hearing updates from people. I want to go in fresh and have that experience, But yeah, I'm absolutely excited. I'm more excited about the new game and a new movie than I am about Silent Hill 2 remake, but I will play them all for sure. I've experienced vertigo while driving and on site. And I don't know what on site means. I don't know what your job is. So, and I work at heights. That's not even English. I work at heights. Bro, what? I work at heights. That's not even English. So anyway, with that note, we're going to be jumping into a horror film. You're in construction. Okay. That is English. Horror film is a film. Jumping into the Spook 6 Ular, Aliens. Aliens. Now, you might be wondering, Aliens? What about Alien? I watched and reviewed Alien a couple of months ago, so I've very freshly seen Alien. If you want to go watch that review, it was a couple of months ago. It was not part of the Spook 60lar. You can go look for it on my channel. Just search Alien 1979. I think it was 1979, and you'll find that review. So once you're done watching that, come back here. But this is Aliens, motherfucker. Aliens. So Aliens is the sequel to Alien. And in Alien, there's an alien, and that motherfucker fucks everyone up. And in Aliens, there's more than one alien. In fact, there's a lot of aliens, and they fuck up all kinds of motherfuckers. So, Aliens kind of takes place directly after Alien, but in an interesting way. It's a direct sequel, but from the perspective of the main character, played by Sigourney Weaver, in the first film. So, at the end of the first film, she goes into, like, hypersleep or whatever it is, and then she wakes up. So it's a direct sequel from her perspective. But throughout hypersleep, right, so he was basically drifting in space, and it took, like, according to the film, it took 57 years until someone found her ship, rescued her, and then brought her to, you know, like, whatever civilization they have, right? So she, you know, all of her family's probably dead, all of her friends are probably dead, everyone she's ever known is probably dead, and you know, that's crazy. So she's readjusting to life in this new, like, space colony, like, floating spaceship or whatever. And then she hears, you know, like, the board, the thing I love about Alien and Aliens, not only are the sets are beautiful, everything, but I'm going to talk about the sets and all that in a little bit. But my favorite aspect of this film from a plot perspective is that this is an anti-capitalist film. Like, think about it. It's an anti-capitalist film. Who are the bad guys? The board. Who's the bad guy in this movie and in the first movie? The board. The company, the corporation, who they, in a direct sense, sacrifice human life for money, right? And in both Alien and Aliens, the villains, right, like the ones who betray the rest of the crew, are doing so in favor of the corporation and in favor of money, right? In the first movie, it was a synthetic android or a robot. I'm not sure if it was an android or a robot, whatever, who betrayed the rest of the crew in favor of corporate profits. And in this movie, it was the corporate like representative who went on the trip to betray the crew for corporate profits. So again, I enjoy that these movies are very anti-capitalist in that sense. I don't know about James Cameron or Ridley Scott's personal views. I don't know. All I know about these movies is that they're anti-capitalist. That's just what they are. I don't know how you could watch Alien or Aliens and still be a capitalist or still believe in capitalism. I don't understand it. But, I mean, I guess Americans are stupid. Now that I've got that out of the way, the sets in both Alien and Aliens, I mean, wow. I mean, I'm just like, now, they don't make movies like this anymore. Like, I don't even know what to say. They just don't make movies like this anymore. They just don't. Like, think about it. When is the last time you have seen a new movie that had such beautiful attention to detail with physical, practical sets? That shit's all CG now. Now, again, a lot of the CG looks okay and it gets the job done, whatever. But, like, I mean, there's just something special. There's just, like, when you watch a movie and it's all practical and, like, you can see the light, you know, like, reflecting from, like, the beautifully crafted walls that are, like, alien, like, biomechanical, like, fucking control of the walls of this, like, colony or whatever, right? It just doesn't compare to any CG in any movie. It just, like, when you see the smoke, right, when the characters are smoking cigarettes, right, and, like, the smoke is clouding around their faces and, like, flowing into, like, into the wall, like, holes in the wall and, like, the vents and stuff. I mean, you maybe see CGI that's kind of like that, but, I mean, it's just wow. Wow. I mean, again, both Alien and Aliens, even though they have a little bit of a different kind, like Aliens is a little bit more action-y than Alien, and, you know, it's got a different director and all that. But the sets, both movies, wow. I mean, just wow. And especially the ending, like that scene when Ripley is looking at like the queen alien, but she sees like the egg come out of the egg sac, and then her eyes, the camera is her eyes as she's looking at that end, and then it goes all the way up, and then it's attached to an alien, and that's all like a real thing that was actually there that they, like, wow. And again, I'm going to say this much. Acting is a skill. Absolutely. And I have massive respect for actors that are able to act in a way that's believable in just like a giant green screen box. Because that's how movies are made now, right? You put motion capture on them, right? And you put like a CG suit on them. Maybe you don't, but sometimes you do for action scenes. But most of the time, it's actors standing, right, in a green box, and they CG a lot of the movie. That's just a lot of movies nowadays. A lot of movies. A lot of it is an actor in a green box saying some shit or doing some shit. And that's a skill, right? But it's a whole different thing when you watch a movie and you know that the actors are really dressed up, right? They're really in those environments, right? Like, you know, we use the term method acting to describe people that, like, you know, they like try to, you know, vanish into their role or whatever. But like, think about how much easier it is to get a good performance from someone who is in a physical set that is supposed to be representative of the film versus a green box. Like, or like a green screen, or, you know, whatever. Just think about it. Right? Like, I don't know. Like, there's just something about it. There's just something about it. Anyway, so the plot of Aliens essentially is Sigourney Weaver is telling the board this story about the first movie. They don't believe her, but then they lose that in the 57 years she was in hypersleep, a colony was built on the planet or whatever that they found the original alien on, and they lost contact with that colony. And then they're like, so we lost contact with that colony. This bitch who's crazy, who cost us millions of dollars, claims that aliens were there. Let's send her there. So a corporate board representative basically convinces her to go along with a group of, you know, I think they're called Colonial Marines or some shit like that. I don't know. And to go there and investigate what happened to this colony, and to either deal with the alien or, you know, just to see what's going on. Really, that's ostensibly, it's like just a fact-finding mission and maybe a rescue mission. Right? But, you know, they get there and there's nobody, right? It's empty, right? And, you know, again, I just want to say the first Alien comes out at 1 hour. This is a 15 minute, but 2 hours, 15 minute, I think, film. And the first Alien is the hour mark. And so I just got to say, I love when horror films have a villain and the villain isn't there for a considerable portion of the film. A new movie came out recently, Halloween Ends. A lot of people are criticizing the film because Michael Myers first appears at 40 minutes in, right? I think that is the best part of the movie, is that you're just wondering for the first 40 minutes, where the fuck is Michael Myers? And in this movie, it builds that similar atmosphere, right? They're just wandering through, right, a colony, right? There's signs of battle damage, right? Like when they see like the acidification of the ceiling and the floor that proves that Ripley was not lying about the acid blood, because they made a point about laughing at the acid blood thing earlier, and then they see proof of it, right? But if they're wandering around this lifeless colony, this building, and then they find a young girl who's like, I don't know, probably 8 years old, 9 years old, and like, you know, she's all fucked up, and she, you know, and it's the anxiety building. It's great. I mean, my thing is like, and you don't want to make the alien or the monster, whatever it is in your movie, right? Like the monster, the killer, the whatever. You don't want to make them show up too late either, right? It's like it's a balance, right? Because if your monster shows up too late, and you know, and the payoff isn't that good, then you got a shitty stinker of a movie, right? Then you got like a Halloween 6 on your hands or some shit like that, right? Right, but like Aliens, really, like, again, it's around the halfway mark, and it's a longer movie, 2 hours and 15ish minutes. So, it's a longer movie, and it's about the halfway mark. You see the first alien, but again, this is not Alien. This is Aliens. Aliens, right? And so the thing is, there's a lot of fucking aliens. That scene when they're like, they also on this mission, they've got like some really bad like colonel or leader, whatever the leader is, who's like, he's only in that position because his like daddy put him there or some shit. Like he's awful at his job. He's a terrible leader. And essentially immediately upon finding the aliens, the leader gets almost like, I think it was like half the crew gets killed in that first scene. Right, and it's essentially all the leader's fault. So, like, Sigourney Weaver is, like, telling him, like, tell them to get the fuck out of there, and he's not doing it, and then they die, and then he still doesn't, and then there's, like, a fight for power. There's a power struggle. Sigourney Weaver takes control, tells them to get the fuck out of there, and then goes and rescues them, right? And that part was great. Because, again, not only is Alien and Aliens a heavily anti-capitalist film series so far, but it's also, again, anti-imperialist. It's anti-military. Now, again, look at it. Look at how they portray the military in this film. Right? The leader, right now, not even talk about the leader being a piece of garbage. Right? And the leadership being corrupt. Right? And again, just following orders is a bullshit concept. If you're on a planet and there's fucking aliens, I'm not following orders. I'm telling you this right now. If I'm in this fucking military unit, we're on another planet, there's fucking aliens, they just killed like one of my best friends, I'm not listening to anybody. Okay, there's no orders, no one's telling me anything. That whole thing needs to get thrown out the window, and you need to have cooperation, right? So again, that scene when like they fight the aliens and then like the Marines die one by one, and then like Sigourney Weaver's trying to rescue them, and then they're trying to get into the truck, and then another one gets fucking killed. And I love that the acid blood goes really well in this movie, because like one of the characters has a shotgun, and then they shoot the aliens with a shotgun, but like the way that the shotgun, it blows their body apart, so then it sprays the blood everywhere. So every time they shoot the aliens, right, with the shotgun, is the blood sprays, and it's acid blood, right, and then it eats through their armor and everything. And it's just the choreography of the fight scenes and the action scenes in this film, incredible. It's incredible. I mean, this is a fucking incredible movie. I'm impressed. I mean, wow, it's a movie. Wow. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you. It's a movie. I would even go as far as to tell you it's a film. I would even say that much. Aliens. I mean, wow. So then the rest of the movie is like, there's like an explosion that's going to happen, and then there's also aliens. So they need to figure out how to get the fuck out of there, but also not get killed by the aliens, right? So then there's like, because there's like a thermonuclear reactor that got like triggered, and it's going to blow up essentially. That's a plot point. They build that up throughout the whole movie with like the pulse rifles. You're not supposed to, but then they shoot them anyway, and then it's like, oh, all the action or whatever. Anyway. And so like there's a timer on the movie that builds the anxiety, but then there's also the aliens, so then they've got multiple problems they need to deal with. And then you got the best character of the movie. I think their name is Hudson. The best character of the movie, who, like, I mean, talk about overacting. And I'm saying this in a good way. I mean, talk about like really getting into the fucking to the role. This guy is the best character in any horror movie I've ever seen, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. This guy, I mean, like, game over, man. Like, it's just like every line, and the way he delivered it, like just the whine in his voice, like the way he whines his lines out. I mean, all-time banger of a performance, right? And also, I gotta say, he's like the audience stand-in. Like, I would be saying the same shit. Like, okay, so there's a nuclear explosion in 30 minutes, and there's fucking hundreds of aliens chasing us. It's over. We're fucking, our goose is cooked. But it's a movie, so they gotta make the main characters survive in some way, right? So, but anyway, love that character. Wow. I mean, it was well done. Like, the way that each, like, military guy or military member, because there's women too, like, all of their personalities fill like a certain niche, right? And it just does a really good job. But that guy was so fucking funny, man. So fucking funny. And also in saying what we're all thinking. You know what I mean? Saying what we're all thinking. Excellent character. Like, if I'm seeing, like, 80% of my crew just got like melted by aliens and acid, right? And not the good kind of acid, right? They all got melted and their skin's boiling and they're dead and they're being like harvested and their bodies are being used for alien fucking hibernation. Yeah, game over. It's like, I'm freaking the fuck out. I love the scene where he's freaking the fuck out and everyone's got to calm him down, and it's just so good. It's excellent, man. And again, I gotta say, the Queen encounter is another one of my favorite parts. Where Sigourney Weaver is trying to save this kid. They got separated when they're trying to escape. She goes back into this like little industrial area to save the kid, and in doing so, she stumbles upon the Queen's nest. And again, that scene, when her eyes go from like the egg sac spitting the egg out to like looking at the whole egg sac, and it's huge. It's a big ass egg sac. And then it looks up at the queen alien attached to it, and then that queen alien like does that mouth thing that the aliens do. Yo, that shit was crazy, man. That shit was crazy. I mean, and then the queen detaches herself from the egg sac and then chases that bitch. The best part of this movie is when the queen is intelligent enough to use an elevator. I love that, because earlier in the movie, I think the guy Hudson says like these are animals. How are they able to do this stuff? And like, no one said that they were animals. They're a highly intelligent like alien species that wants to fuck you up. They are not animals. Like, you're not dealing with a grizzly bear, asshole. You're dealing with a fucking alien whose single mission is to use you as food, right? Like, I don't know what to tell you. So anyway, I love when the queen goes up the elevator, following Sigourney Weaver and the child. It's just great. It's just everything. And then like, I don't even know, man. You gotta watch this movie. If you haven't seen Aliens, which was me yesterday morning, when I was coming to you yesterday, doing the show yesterday, 24 hours ago, I was a subhuman slime ball. I was an uncultured little prick. But now I'm not. I've seen Aliens. So I'm good. I'm set. If you haven't seen Aliens, you gotta watch it. Wow. I mean, it's a fantastic movie. I've never seen it before. I'm absolutely going to go through the whole series. I'm going to probably watch the Predator films too, so I can catch out those Versus movies. But I'm not going to do any of that for the Spook 60R. I'm going to, tackle them as I find them on streaming services. I mean, this is a great movie. It's a great movie. That's all I can say. And you got to watch it. So check it out, Aliens. And also, again, movie number 43 out of 50. We're getting close to the end of the celebration here, so check that out. But I got a couple films left. I got one more franchise. You might be wondering, you have room for a franchise? Yeah, that's right. We got one more franchise we're going to jump into pretty soon here. So there you go. There's a long cut of Aliens. What? Aliens Special Edition? Is that what it is? Laserdisc. Whoa. Damn. This was not on the streaming service. I watched the... I gotta check that out at some point. Yeah, I'm all in on the Aliens for sure. But anyway, that's the show for today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it. I see what you're doing, Joseph Martinez, and I am not responding. Yeah. I think we're good. I don't know. What else do I gotta say? Oh. I'm gonna go eat breakfast.
That is a shit fuck, cringe tour, etc., etc.
man, dog-faced pony soldier.
I mean, the fossil fuel industry, they weigh in so significantly. I mean, how could it be?
Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Can you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know.
Why? You're getting nervous, man.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack yesterday. Yesterday is a hard word for me. Good. Take the word yesterday, because it doesn't work with me.
I am not up to the job. And I mean that sincerely. It's not like, whoa,